Hello and welcome back to another in-depth weather video. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. Let's go in depth. I am on the National Weather Service page. We're going to be talking about Hurricane Laura today, which we have currently posted hurricane warnings, storm surge warnings, storm surge watches, hurricane watches, tropical storm warnings, high surf advisories, a bunch of tropical storm watches, a bunch of hurricane and tropical storm specific watches, warnings, and advisories, all in this Texas and Louisiana area, as well as some flash flood watches extending all the way up into Arkansas. Now let's move on to the satellite imagery for Hurricane Laura. This storm is definitely better in terms of organization. The plume of convection is much more defined. This storm currently has 90-mile-an-hour winds and is expected to make landfall with winds of 120 miles an hour. At least that is what is currently scheduled to happen. This will be a Category 2 next update, and then a couple updates later, right before it makes landfall, Category 3, major hurricane status, and then it makes landfall, stays a Category 1 for a while, even possibly into Arkansas, and then diminishes and moves off to the east. Now, let's move on here to weathernerds.org, and we're going to be looking at a hurricane-specific model, and I have this pulled up right here. This is some wind speed, 10 meters. This is in knots. This is showing major hurricane status. So you can see right in here we have, I'm thinking that that's 112 to 128 knots, which is both in that Category 3, which is both in that Category 3 to Category 4 range. So 112 knots is in Category 3, and then 128 knots is in the Category 4 range. Now, a lot more spaghetti models have been showing Category 4, and let's look at that now. So there's Laura, you can see right now 75 knots, and that is in that Category 1 range. And we can also see that it has pressure of 983 millibars, and it's starting to become more defined. It's definitely starting to go into that rapid intensification phase. I think that we're in the midst of it right now, and you can see that in the spaghetti models here. So the intensity model guidance is showing that this will continue to rapidly intensify through the Gulf. Most are showing either Cat 2, Cat 3, or Category 4. More spaghetti models are now showing Category 4, and that is a little bit more concerning, because I think we are celebrating the, well, I don't think celebrating is the right word there, but we are noticing that this is about the same time of year that Hurricane Harvey hit this area about 3 years ago, I think sometime this week. So the rapid intensification in the Gulf has been a common thing to happen over the past couple years. We had Harvey, we had Michael. Those are the two big ones, and now we might be adding Laura to that list. So rapid intensification, possible Cat 4, and then it drops off. It makes landfall. Again, 24 hours is that mark where most of these start to go down, and then it continues to go down over the next day or two, and then it eventually moves out to sea, and that's when things get a little bit more wacky. At this point, it would be a post-tropical cyclone, but this is intensity, this is wind speeds in knots. So could we see the wind speeds pick back up after this makes it out to shore? Possibly. So let's move on to the NAM 3 kilometer model. I'm going to show two runs here. I'm going to show the MSLP and precip, and then we'll show the wind speeds. So here's Laura here. As you can see, it's dropping in pressure. That means it's intensifying, and then it continues to move kind of west-northwest to north-northwest, kind of doing that turn, and then it makes landfall very strong. So 892 is the strongest mark there, and then as it moves on shore, you can see that rain threat. It's still going to be pulling up moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, kind of giving some of the areas that were just impacted by the actual landfall of the storm a little bit longer in that rain band plume. And then this kind of keeps its shape for a while. As this keeps moving on, it does diminish. That is expected. But we could see, right now it's looking like it's going to stall out over Arkansas, which means that those flash flood watches there are definitely needed. This could pose a pretty decent flood threat, even though this isn't the major part of the storm, the flash flooding. I think that winds, storm surge, and tornadoes are a bigger deal with this storm. Flooding in the interior is definitely possible with this storm, and I think it is likely. But let's move on into the MSLP and 10-meter wind speed. So you can see as it makes landfall, you're starting to see those blues. And let's actually move into the south central region so we can expand on this. You can see it's showing reds there. That means that it's definitely hurricane force. Possibly some whites in there too. That usually signifies that it's very strong. So you can see this is definitely going to be a hurricane at landfall. That's no doubt. Strength wise, 887 right there, 888. So 886 looks like the strongest point, and that's when it's just about to make landfall. And you can see it keeps those winds right on to the shore, makes landfall, and of course those winds quickly diminish there at the 10-meter level. So let's look at quickly the total accumulated precipitation, because there is expected to be a very large amount of rainfall with this storm. So here we have, with that eye wall, we have possibly a foot of rain here in some spots right along the coast where that eye wall really just sets up shop. And then further inland, that 2 to 6 inch range is very large, very expansive. So we definitely have to look at this storm as it is I would say, a quadruple threat. I think that wind speed causing damage, storm surge causing damage, flash flooding possibly causing damage, and tornadoes causing damage. That's a quadruple threat, and I think that Laura is going to pack a real punch. I already think that Isaias is going to get retired, and if things shape out the way they are, I think Laura will get retired as well. But we just have to wait and see. If you live in these areas, hopefully you've evacuated already. There have been mandatory evacuation orders placed, but stay safe, especially if you're in interior areas that have not received evacuation orders and you're riding out the storm. Just stay safe, and I will see you guys next time.